Oh, they had to unmute.
Hello, how are you?
Excellent. Let me start the video.
Great.
All
Oh,
right.
here I see you. So, what time
Well,
is it over there?
it's just lunchtime. It's
Okay.
the lunch. The lunch is just starting. So,
Okay.
um, probably the best thing would be to see whether you can see my screen. Um,
Yes,
so
I
show
can hear you, and that's a start. Let's see if I can see your screen.
Okay. So, what I'm gonna do is I can actually launch the. I can get rid of that. Get rid of that. Okay. And I'll use this one.
Yes, I can see it. I have the presentation open, so if in case anything,
Oh,
I have it here.
excellent. Let me see if it advances okay.
Yes.
Hey, we move in, we move in.
Yes, we are. Everything seems to be great. Yes.
Excellent, excellent. Oh,
Yeah.
that's great. That's great.
Nice. So we will start, or I will start with the welcome and thanking people for being here with us. I'm gonna introduce you and the masterclass, and then I just will give you the floor and you can go on. I will check the chat. So if people would like to ask any question or anything, I will tell them that they can do either on the chat or open the micro, but maybe it's better not to interrupt you to do it at the end of the session. What do you think?
Right. Well, sometimes the questions, if you could monitor it, because I don't think I can actually see the chat. I'm not quite sure whether I can see the chat.
There is like
Yeah,
how it's
there is
called, like
this
a
thing.
banner in the
Yeah,
lower
okay.
part, and there should be like
Okay.
chat. I don't know if you see
Okay.
it.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, I've got it. I've got it. So
Great.
I should be able to choose to see it. Um,
Yeah, but I'm
um,
gonna check for you. Don't worry.
okay, okay. I think in a way, sometimes if you have a kind of a good question,
Mm-hmm.
it sort of breaks up a little bit, me kind of a droning on. So,
Yeah.
uh, um, so, uh, but I have a space for the questions at the end.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
we can do it either way. Um, I mean, let's see, whether these questions, what kind of a questions we're going to get, um, and
Okay.
see how it goes.
Yes, of course. As long as you are feeling comfortable, and yeah, we can manage it, and yes. Yeah.
Okay, okay, sounds good, sounds good.
Yeah, that's great. Do you have any video or audio? Because otherwise, like, the sharing part of the screen should be like different, like checking the audio sharing too. But
I think I'm just going to go without it. It could
okay.
be sometimes the technicality of that it can be difficult, so I'll just go without it.
Okay.
I left a reference to a video of this project we're doing in Portland. So,
Mm-hmm.
if somebody wants to click on that, or, we can kind of share it with people at the end.
Of course. Yes. Yes, yes. We can have the links in the chat. We can share it, for example, if they want to click on it, or yeah.
That's probably the best way. Yeah.
Great. Yeah. And you, how are you doing? Everything is fine?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do you have a spring in Spain?
Yes, we have finally arrived. I really love spring and summer. So as the winter starts, I'm getting a bit so yeah, I
Same,
love.
same here. Same here. Yeah, it's still a little bit iffy.
Mm.
Well, talk about climate change. We had 2 days of really warm weather, and
Mm.
that it turned cold again, so
Okay.
it's very unreliable, put it this way.
Okay. Yes. Yes. It's well, yeah. Here it's like, mm, well, no, it's spring, but there is like this during day. It can be really warmer, and then during night the temperature can really go down. So it's kind of strange, weird, but yeah. Well, yes, yes,
Yeah,
and let's
yeah,
see this summer how it's gonna be.
that's right. Yeah, we kind of go when we go with my wife for a walk. She says, climate change. This is lovely, for somebody kind of
Yes, well, it depends on the point of view, but sometimes I'm also thinking, well, at least we have the sunshine. But yeah, no, totally. I know that I mean, it's not fair thinking like that.
yeah. No, it's very it could be very misleading. That's for sure.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, actually, I don't know if I have to, well, to like, I don't remember if it was this week or last week. I was hearing like a podcast about Italian news, and they were saying that this year all the mountains in Italy are really, really losing all the water reserve
Wow.
because didn't rain so much during the year. So it's like of kind of an emergency that we are not having enough water because of rain and because of the warmth that has that caused like the, how do you say that in English, when the snow, when the ice is melting, right?
Right, right,
Yeah,
right.
so it's a kind of an emergency
In
in
Italy.
northern Italy. Yes,
Wow,
it
wow.
is.
Well, there have been in April, there have been such a heat waves in Asia,
Mm.
over 45 degrees centigrade. So, um, um, I mean, it's unfortunately, it's happening. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Yes, and actually also all the climate disaster in the next years, we will have, if I'm not wrong, you are the expert, but in the southern part of the world, where also the population is growing so much and they
Yeah.
are migrating where? In the northern part, but we are not thinking of any politics of anything. And also actually the gatherings and the meetings that they should like have objectives to set in order to lower all the emissions, and they are not doing anything. And right,
Well,
so
that's the amazing thing, and I'm going to kind of mention that I don't know if you remember the Y2K
mm,
in 2000, but everybody was freaking out. People were saying that the plane's going to fall from the sky, and the
yes, 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 I
computer's going to
remember.
stop,
Yeah,
and everybody was panicking, and now. When we, in fact, it's a much more serious situation, nobody's doing anything. It's
right, yes.
unbelievable, unbelievable.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, it is. It's like kind of people are not believing, kind of, that it's gonna be like a real disaster if we are not acting or if we are not doing anything. Yeah.
exactly, exactly. How many people have you got signed up now?
Signed, they are 50.
Okay,
50 people. So this is an exclusive masterclass. So it's only alumni. And I think it's a good result because for masterclasses, we are not, usually we have less people registered.
wow,
But yes, we have 50. And now that you tell me, if you give me just a second,
sure.
that I'm gonna do something. We have the waiting room in Zoom, but as I know the alumni, they are always late. I'm gonna. I'm sorry. No, they are not always late, but it's kind of cultural, right?
Oh, sure, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah. Not everyone, but
yeah. Well,
yeah.
we had it even with the classes. We had it
Yes.
with like kind of
Okay.
dropping in. But actually, 50 sounds pretty good. I remember how big was our class? But we usually had like a 20, 25 people in
Okay.
online, and the class was much bigger. So um sometimes even a lot less, sometimes 10, 15.
Yes, 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 of course. No, no, I see that. Well, I mean, because maybe you can count on the recording afterwards. So it's
That's
like
right.
if sometimes I am very interested in attending some master classes or something that it's, well, external from Sigurat, but anything. And if I am like, I cannot attend, I put it like if it was a podcast, or I'm counting on the recording. And actually, since we are recording and then we will upload it in the alumni platform, it can be that also it's like kind of a way people are thinking about, right? Okay, then I'm gonna see the recording. Yeah.
Sure.
But
Well,
yeah.
how is this year going? Do you have a good year in all the courses?
What do you mean? How many people are studying now, or what?
Yeah, do you have a good year?
Well, I think it's good. Maybe no, but I think it's a good year. But I don't know the exactly numbers in
Sure.
comparison to last year. But I think it's good. Maybe we are challenging like economical crisis too. Yeah. So
Yeah, yeah,
people are more, it's more difficult to have like to invest money. And when you are cutting money, you cut first of all from in education, right? You are thinking to save money for other things maybe. So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, it's
That's life.
yeah, it is. But on the other hand, I'm seeing that a lot of people are registering to the student week this year, many more, much more than last year.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's see. Yet the inscription are not closed, but yeah, we have many.
Well, that's good. That's good. Yeah, I really enjoyed that week in Barcelona. That was fantastic.
Yeah. We are structuring scheduling it a bit different, but I think it's going to be interesting because of the feedback that you guys gave me last year. So I'm going to organize it in a slightly different way, like more focus on the networking the first day, just one day dedicated to the company's visit. So it's like one day only company visit, one day only networking among the students, and then content, but it's going to be with panels with the professors and directors, and then a workshop, like practical workshop with the students. Well, let's see. I'm gonna tell you afterwards how
Okay,
it
okay.
went.
That sounds great. I think actually
Yeah.
we're coming up to the hour, eh?
Yes, I'm gonna let them in, and then as I told you, I'm presenting you, giving welcome, and then we'll give you the floor. All right?
Excellent. Okay. Good luck.
Great. Good luck and thank you. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Hello. Welcome, everyone. We are just waiting a few seconds that everyone is joining the Zoom. Thanks a lot for being here today. Just a second. People are joining the session. All right. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night, depending on where you are connecting from. I am Paola. I am the alumni manager here at Sigurat, and I would like to welcome you to this alumni session entitled Climate Disaster Resiliency. So I would like to give you some context first. I would like to say that these sessions are exclusive to our alumni community to connect with other professionals, with other companies from all around the world and boost your skills. So today I'm very happy to introduce you to Jiri Skobek, who is an alumni of Ziggurat. He is an advisors building owners and city managers on smart and sustainable development in the fields of design, asset and facility management, emergency preparedness, business continuity, smart buildings, and city innovative planning and business development solution. So today we will cover the need for climate disaster resilience in light of climate change, the rise of the new profession of disaster risk and emergency management, and the need for involving communities in climate adaptation. So, Jiri, I don't want to take more time to the session. I really would like to thank you for your time today and your commitment. And I would like also to thank all the students and alumni who are joining the session, and would like to encourage you to take advantage of the Jiri's availability to ask questions, debate, and talk. So thank you very much, Jiri, and please, I give you the floor.
Thank you, Paola. So again, welcome to this Climate Disaster Resilience Masterclass. And sorry, I'm just trying to this. Sorry, Paola, it's not advancing for me. I don't know.
Isn't it? No, it's not. Before it was working, everything.
Oh, there it goes.
Yes, great.
That's better. Okay, so today we're going to take a comprehensive look at climate challenges and how the technology can actually help us. So what I would like to do is to give you an overview of what these threats and the risk are. And then we will talk about, as Paul was saying, about the emergency management framework, which is used by the first responders and emergency professionals worthwhile. And then finally, we're going to talk about how it's important to involve communities and how new technologies can support community resiliency. So, you probably hear a lot about resiliency today, and, people talk about personal resilience and cultural resilience, but that's not what we're going to talk about. We're going to focus on specifically on climate resilience. So, first of all, a little bit of a definition. What is a resilience? It's actually a capacity to recover quickly from the difficulties. And there is quite a lot of overlap between resilience and sustainability, whether it's energy and water interdependence, whether it's the use of the resources, the community support. So in a way, resilience is at the core of sustainability. So let's talk about, what's happening today and what's likely to happen tomorrow. We are actually facing a perfect storm where the climate change and extreme weather are coming together and starting to affect not only our economic life, but potentially the existence of our civilization as well. And, we see So what are some of the causes of the disaster? Well, we had a natural disasters, whether they volcanoes or solar effects through millennia, ever since the planet started. But they've been kind of ticking along, they've been not they were not too much, they were not increasing. However, what we do see today, that's the blue line on this diagram, is they gaining intensity and severity. However, what we do see that the human drivers for disaster is increasing rather rapidly, and that's the red line. So putting it all together, the black line, we see that certainly the disaster are beginning to have a bigger effect on temperature increase and on the severity of those disasters. That relationship between the temperature and greenhouse gases is now well established. You can see the blue line, which is the increase in concentration of atmospheric CO2, and also the black line, which is the increase in temperature. Now, some of the climate change doubters were saying, well, it's not it, it's the sunspot. Well, the sunspot is the yellow line, the yellow wavy line, and you can see that's not changing very much. So really, the relationship between the CO2 and the global temperature is well established beyond any scientific doubt, and the effect of humans on our planet. Now, unfortunately, the predictions are not very good. I don't know, how many of you heard or seen the conclusion of the IPCC report this March, but essentially that report is putting the increase of the global temperature by the end of the century over the 3 degrees centigrade. Now, we just had this heat wave in Asia, where the temperature was reaching 45 degrees centigrade, and we are only kind of halfway through this diagram. We are not even by 2050, and it's making life intolerable in many parts of the world. So you can imagine what this increase will do. I mean, it will actually render large part of the planet uninhabitable. So if we want to sort of stay where we are, or at least kind of save the civilization, we really can't go much beyond the 1.5 increase in temperature, which is the basis of the Paris Accord. And we would need to reach climate neutrality by 2050. But what's happening? Not very much. Unfortunately, the life seems to go on as usual, and we seems to be very much on that red curve. Mean that, for even in your lifetime, or certainly in the lifetime of your children, we will gonna reach some pretty catastrophic situation unless we really change our course quite rapidly. So, what is the alternative? Well, we've got to prepare. We've got to manage the climate, and we've got to adapt. And that's why I think you are at this particular session. So that's what I will try to address. So, what are some of the threats and the risk? Well, we know them all. It's earthquake, wildfires, tropical storms, flooding, heat waves, landslides. So where do they occur? Tropical storm, again, in Asia, but many of them are in that Caribbean basin, and very strongly affecting the southeast of the United States. There's a picture of the Hurricane Ian, which devastated large part of Florida, sort of last year. So That's kind of a close to home where I am. I'm in Toronto, Canada, but many of the Canadians go down south to Florida. Floods happens pretty much everywhere. Again, Asia is very much prone to floods. Again, last year we had that horrendous flooding in Pakistan, where the country is still trying to recover from that. So, we see this again everywhere. Now, then we have earthquake and tsunami. The most prone areas is what's called the Ring of Fire, which is around the Pacific basement. But again, we've seen lots of earthquake in Asia Minor. In fact, I'm sure you remember the news about the huge earthquake in Turkey. And you might be kind of wondering, what's the connection between earthquakes and climate change? Well, it's still tenuous, but what scientists are now coming up with is that earthquakes are essentially caused by the changes in tectonic plates. The tectonic plates kind of brushing against each other. And what they're finding is that the melting of the earth, of the glaciers, and also the frequency of flooding and drought is actually changing the weight of the crust, of the earth crust, and that's what can cause these shifts in the tectonic plates. So it's very much kind of an indirect relationship. I'm sure you've heard about the butterfly effect, where the flapping of the butterfly wing in Amazon can cause typhoon in Philippines. Nevertheless, there seems to be a potential relationship between earthquakes and climate change. Not too happy news. So where are these? Who is actually being affected by all of that? What this map shows is the hazard of mortality. And you see these red areas, which are typically in developing countries, which have usually less economic capabilities to recover from these disasters. So what we might see in the future is more migration. People trying to get out of these areas, which will be putting pressures, political pressure on other part of the planet. So we might see some disruption in those areas. So something again to be very much aware of, and again, that's calling for some solution, and that's got to be political solution and economic solution. We do see this increase in the natural disasters. And the diagram on the right actually shows what are some of the causes. Now, the blue area is flooding, and the area just above that is extreme weather. So, we see these are the main causes of the disasters. And certainly, after the year 2000, we see quite a jump in the number of these disasters. And they are having very strong economic impact. What we see on the right side of the slide is the impact in billions of US dollars in USA. And again, we see the main causes, the extreme weather. That's the green line, the green color. So hurricanes are the main causes, and we certainly see again same kind of an increase. It's going up, unfortunately. Now, there is a silver lining to that. That why we see the increase in disasters, the actual mortality or the number of deaths is going down, which is amazing. So what we see on this diagram on the right, again, there are different causes, and where in 1980s it was mainly drought which was causing the mortality. It's now the extreme heat. Now, funnily enough, the two are actually related in some way. But the good news is, the number of the affected people or number of deaths is going down. So what is causing that? Well, we now do have disaster risk management, and we do have the budding climate change adaptation. So those two factors can actually help us to decrease the severity or certainly the impact of the disasters. So that's a good news. So let's talk about the disaster risk or the emergency management, which is actually fast-growing profession. So I'm going to take you some of the fundamentals of the framework of the emergency management. There is actually international standard for an emergency management, and it's based on 4 pillars, and that is mitigation, preparedness, response, and recovery. And all these are based on risk assessment. So what's the risk assessment? You're looking at 2 vectors. You're looking at probability, and you also looking at severity. Now, you can have a very sophisticated risk assessment, but what you see in the table on the left, that if you are familiar with your place, with your site, you can do actually very rudimentary risk assessment very, very quickly. You can say on a scale of 1 to 5, what would be the probability, say, of flood, or what would be the severity of the flood. You can also look at other kind of a hazard like power failures or violence in a workplace or medical emergency. All these can be evaluated the same way. So what you see in the diagram on the right, that in this case, the flooding would be the most probable and most severe. Power failure would be also very severe, but probably less probable. And earthquake would be very severe, but again, less probable. So, doing this kind of an assessment, you can very quickly prioritize what the disaster impact would be in your particular place. Now, the other thing which is kind of working in our favor is that we have a much greater advance in weather forecasting. We now have a satellite, we now have a supercomputers. And what have we seen that over the period of years, the accuracy of the weather forecasting has been really improving. So, at least we know what's going to happen a little bit in advance. The other thing is that we have a number of sensors, whether they are temperature sensors or the humidity sensors. So that also can help our prediction of the weather. And, even with the seismic waves, for the earthquake, we now have sensors on the bottom of the oceans, the pressure sensors, which now relay the different information to the satellite, which then relates it to the warning center. So again, we have a better warning about potential tsunami or earthquake, and that gives us a little bit more time to react. There is also a human element to that of early warning, and actually, Bangladesh, out of all places, have probably the best early warning system. They have volunteers which go from village to village, from building to building, and warn the occupants of any kind of an imminent danger, whether it's tsunami or flooding. So, Bangladesh is actually very, very good in this way. The US also has Federal Emergency Management Agency, and there has been more and more attention on the work of this agency, more funding. So, obviously the USA is taking this a lot more seriously as well. So let me take you very quickly through what are some of these pillars and what the emergency management is all about. So the mitigation is really about the reduction of the risk. And the way you can reduce the risk is know where it's going to happen and what the impact would be. So you want to map it. And there's a number of mapping techniques which now can predict floods and other type of disasters. So number of these maps exist. So then local authorities can make much more informed decisions of what kind of investments they may have to do, in case of some of these disasters. Now, many of these solutions or mitigation solutions can be done using natural system, particularly for flooding. So we can have a bioswales, we can have a water retention basins, we can have a wetlands, we can plant trees and other vegetation and have a permeable pavements. So these kind of a natural system are the best to combat flooding. And maybe you have also heard about this sponge city concept, which was started in Bangkok in Thailand, but is now rapidly spreading through many Chinese cities. And it's kind of using the same kind of techniques I just mentioned. It uses the permeable paving, the ponding, the swales, and the green roof, which actually direct the water from the flood into the aquifer. So the water then can be stored, and if there is a potential drought, it can be then pumped and used for irrigation. So this is a very good concept, which is being rapidly used in many places. Now, if you have a buildings, which you will have, obviously, and you're going to have a flood, you have to make sure that if the water gets into the building, you can also let it out. So you might have to have a special openings, which would actually let the water out. But obviously, you want to protect the water getting into the building in the first place. So you need the different ways of watertighting the construction or different ways of flood proofing. And also you will need all that kind of an equipment, pumps, generators, and all that sort of good stuff. Now, in case of wind or extreme weather, the most vulnerable part of the building is the roof. If the roof is not well anchored, it's going to fly away and it's going to cause significant damage. And similarly, any kind of a roof opening would cause similar kind of a damage. So for extreme weather, button up the roofs. That's the main thing. And then we have the earthquakes. Now, these are much more tricky to deal with because you want to stop the building from shaking. And the best way to do that is through these shock absorbing base insulators, which can kind of help that sway of the building and the framing. So that's much more cost intensive, and obviously it's going to be done probably on more likely on major building, but even smaller buildings can be quite effectively help with bracing, and particularly when you have a wooden building or bamboo building in some places, they are much more flexible. So provided you protect the roofing structure, that's much better in time of earthquake. So let's have a look at some of the other pillars. Preparedness. What is preparedness? Preparedness is actually mainly to do with documenting all the things you have in a building, and having a records, the financial records, have all the plans and drawings, and have also written procedures on evacuation, how you shut down the building and so on. And then if you have some kind of a hazardous material in the building, then you're going to need special procedures, how you would deal with that. So it's lots of paperwork, but it's very critical paperwork. And then we have the response. So what you do during the response, you just want to make sure that your plans are actionable. So what this means, you will want to have lots of training, exercises, drills, get your staff in the building, for example, through this kind of a training, then they know what to do. And also make sure that you have also on all the on-site equipment, first aid kits, crowd control, evacuation equipment, and so on. So it's testing all these things that you are actually prepared in this response phase. And so finally, because disasters do happen, how do you recover most quickly to normal operation? So you want to assign responsibility. Who's going to be responsible for damage assessment? Who's going to be responsible for collecting record, for making the insurance claim, legal action, which will then help you get back to work in a fastest possible way. There are assessment systems which can kind of guide you through this process, and there's this building emergency management assessment, which takes you step by step through all of these phases I just mentioned. So it's great. We do have this emergency management, which is doing the job, but is it enough? Well, maybe it's not enough. And what we found in some of the major disasters is that, like, for example, this Hurricane Ian, number of people, they said, well, we already been through the disaster, nothing's going to happen with us. We're just going to stay in place. And then the disasters are getting bigger and more severe, and people get hurt, and people get trapped. And so what we're finding is that we really need to involve the community. We need to make the people aware, and need to meet people engaged, because that's the only way, we're gonna make everybody safe. And so there is now a phrase called, we are now all the first responders. And in fact, the gentleman who kind of coined this phrase is the gentleman on the right here, who is the head of FEMA. And in fact, this picture is taken during the Hurricane Sandy in New York, where he actually saw this damage, and again, many people got trapped. So that really emphasized the importance of engaging the community in disaster mitigation, and in the whole kind of adaptation process. Now, for anybody of you who've been involved in community action, you know well that it's not an easy process. It's a community ecosystem is usually very complex. There are so many actors involved. There is the different levels of government, there's the private sector, there's not-for-profit sector, there are different associations, whether it's professional association or whether it's the community association. So it's quite a spider network of different actors being involved, and it's not easy. However, I am now involved in a project in Portland, Oregon, where we are kind of looking at the ways how we can get the whole community involved, in lining them up so we actually get their engagement and their awareness. And we think the best way to do that would be through focus on community facilities, whether it's schools, libraries, churches, um, and so on. So we think actually schools are the best ways because they engage large part of the population. First of all, they engage the children, and parents are always interested what the children's are. So we actually have this project which is now funded by National Science Foundation. And if you're interested, I can put there's a little video of what we're doing below. I can put it in the chat if people are interested seeing that. So, how we go about it? Well, to get people interested is through the communication, obviously. And probably the best way is to get them involved is discuss with them, what kind of a disaster might happen in their area. And, particularly if there has been already some form of disaster, that's what gonna people pay attention. And you can do it, probably any place in the world. Hazard mapping is the best way to get the community involved. Now, we also have a great technology means of helping us to do that through the digital twin. We can make digital twin of neighborhood, or we can make a digital twin of the whole city. So we can actually map of what an impact of particular disaster would be, whether it be flooding or wildfire, or even heat wave possibly. So we can actually show what areas would be flooded, what roadworks would be affected, what infrastructure would be affected. So this is a great way of actually showing to the community what might happen as well. And it's already being used. Wellington, which is the capital of New Zealand, is using this system. They probably have the best developed digital twin of the whole city. And they are actually consulting with the community and showing them what the impact would be, and getting the community involved. That's what we're trying to do with our project in Portland, Oregon. The other advantage of using the digital twin, particularly in earthquake-prone areas, is that we can actually model what impact would be on the structural system of the building. So we can kind of make the structural analysis, which then can help you to prepare those buildings. And we have a quote here from the head of the Portland Emergency Management, which is actually very keen on what we're doing, because she says that's the way of communicate to the public which building would be deemed safe. And that's what you want to know, where you can go if the disaster strikes. But you want to know how to get there. And again, having these kind of a digital devices which can guide you in case of emergency, have these digital platforms which can show you where the safe places are, can show you the fastest routes to them, is the great help. So certainly, the technology can be a very good contributor to increasing the safety of people. But we still have to make people safe. So how are we going to go about it? FEMA mentioned actually identify 7 different areas which are critical for ensuring the safety of the people, and that's the security, safety and security, food and water, shelter, the health and medical, energy, communication, transportation, and if you have some hazardous materials, how you deal with that as well. And they call it the community lifelines, and there's a whole kind of a protocol or guidelines what you should do, to get this right. So, in our project in Portland, what are we focusing primarily is the communication, energy, and transportation. When we do these community consultations, communication always comes number one. People want to know that their children are safe, that their relative, the family is safe. They want to know where to go and what to do. So having communication is absolutely critical. But in order to have communication, you need the energy. So all these things are interconnected. You can't just have one or the other. You got to look at it in a kind of a comprehensive way. Now, one of the big issues we're finding is, how do you deal with people who are disabled, elderly, ethnic, they don't speak the language, or marginalized? And so that's kind of one of the focus areas we kind of are looking at as well. So we are working with this Oregon Digital Safety Net, which is provide this digital wallet for the people who are marginalized, and that would provide them with personal access to services. So, we are kind of trying not to leave anybody behind in this process. So how this kind of can be done? Well, the school buses, electric school buses, are great means of ensuring the safety of the schools. First of all, not only can school buses transport people if there's a trouble, but if we equip these school buses with communication equipment, and there's a charging station, there can be other charging or storage capacity on the site, as is shown in this picture on the right, then a fleet of buses can provide that kind of a minimum power needed, emergency power needed for the school, to keep it functional during the emergency. Now, if you have fleet of these buses and you have a solar power, you have the storage, you can actually create a microgrid, which can provide independent power from the grid, or at least provide enough of the power when the grid is done, and it can be actually interconnect with the grid. And that's already being done in some jurisdiction, like in the Sonoma Valley Unified School District. Now, transportation is also critical because, there are cases where you have to evacuate. And what can happen during the evacuation, that some of the roadworks can be blocked, whether it's with the fire or whether it's through flooding and so on. So you do have to have a coordination of the evacuation. And there is actually a ISO standard for emergency evacuation and disaster response and recovery, which uses the emergency management, central control, to coordinate the first responders, the people in the cars, and also the public transport. So, having this system is critical to ensure that you can safely evacuate the people as well. So, in conclusion, I would like to say that, unfortunately, we do have disasters to stay, and they are likely to be more frequent and likely to be more severe. So it's great that we have a emergency management, but it's not gonna cover all emergencies. The emergency services, they are like the army. They have the first responders. They can go in. They know exactly what to do. But that's their job. If we want to ensure a whole community safety, we need community involvement. We need people to be able to help themselves. And fortunately, we do have some smart technology which can help us to improve the resiliency. But we can't do it this piecemeal. We do have to do it comprehensively. We have to reduce the greenhouse gases, we have to improve the infrastructure, and we have to improve our sustainable practices. So I'm hoping I gave you a little bit of an overview of where we are, what means we have in our disposal to be more resilient, and what we have to do is how we can improve the resiliencies. And since many of are in this technology business, how we can improve the smart technology to improve the resiliency. So thank you very much. If you have any questions, I would be delighted to answer any of them.
Thank you very much, Jiri. Thank you, everyone. And well, it was really interesting and in some way also impactful, right? I have, while waiting from the questions that might come, you can open your micro and turn on your camera, or either write on the chat. If you would like to make any question, make any comments, or share with us also, it could be interesting also share with us what are your thoughts or what are you living in your country. This is also something I think it's interesting since you are connecting from all over the world, literally. So, but I have a question for you, Jiri. Do we have any strategy that we can apply in our daily life, for example, right, as a citizen?
Right. Well, certainly if you are into an area which might be prone to emergency, number of the agencies actually do issue kind of a preparedness kit or, preparedness advice. So, you might want to know, first of all, you want to be informed. I mean, there are jurisdictions in US which actually have you can connect to an alarm. So you can get electronic warning on your cell phone if there's a likelihood even of power emergency. We have that. I kind of get an advice on my cell phone that there'll be power emergency. Certainly, the people I'm working in Portland, they earthquake is a big threat there. So, earthquake warning are kind of a big thing. School now have a warning of heat events. So, being aware and being informed is the big thing. So then again, you might kind of get an instruction as well what to provide for. So having water, for example, have a sufficient water in your house is a good thing. If the power goes down, probably the pumping can go down as well. So water would be prime thing. You want to have a first aid kit, obviously, or maybe some kind of a thermal blanket might be good as well. If it's either hot or cold, thermal blanket can reflect the heat or can also, protect you against cold. So there are different things you can have in your house. Obviously, if you do some planting, that's going to shade your house. So, you can even do things in your neighborhood or you can have a community action in your community where you can discuss what kind of things might be happening, and then to actually have a kind of a community action when you can say, well, we want to make our community, we want to make our school or make a place of worship, whether it's mosque or synagogue or church or temple, whatever, make it a place of a safe place, and prepare that place as well. So there's lots of initiative you can do to prepare.
Okay, thank you very much. That's really interesting. And I don't know if anyone any one of you would like to share anything, any thought, any question, but also share your experience, or if yeah.
Well, if you tongue-tied and you want to have some questions or anything, please, you can always email me, and I'll be very happy to, to respond. And I'm actually gonna copy this. What did I do? I disappeared.
You might end the presentation and stop sharing and copy the information in the chat, I think.
That's what I was trying
Yes.
to do. Let me just do that. I'll copy this video in the chat. So if anybody's interested, please free have a look.
Great, thank you very much. Yes, you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing the link, so you can save it and then watch it. Okay, I don't know if any one of you would like to ask something. All right. I have a last question, Jiri, for you. It's kind of more personal question, in the sense that how have you started, or why have you started approaching this topic, so that it's really specific?
Well, actually, it has been the subject of my thesis in Ziggurat.
I know.
And I'm the graduate of the Smart City Management course, and well, it was very much kind of a subject on my mind. I have been involved in ecological things and kind of a environment. I was environmentalist pretty much all my life, and I built actually the first solar house in England in the 70s, which kind of dates me. Throughout my career, I have been involved with environment. So, seeing that we are not making much progress and things are getting, unfortunately, worse, the resiliency was a very interesting subject for me.
Mm-hmm.
And since I also am a technology buff as well, I was kind of a thought, well, can we combine it? And, what's the role of resilience in smart city? So it was a subject of my master plan. And I was very lucky to have great colleagues. And I don't know if any of them are on this program, but I had a great colleagues which participate in our thesis. So it wasn't just me. It's kudos to all those guys, because it was a wonderful team. And I certainly appreciate the process Ziggurat's using. It's very kind of this collective approach, which is critical. We have to collaborate. I mean, we can't do things individually. We have to work as a teams, and teamwork is kind of a critical. So I certainly congratulate Ziggurat of using this kind of a collective approach. And yeah, it was the subject of my thesis.
Great. Thank you very much, Jiri, for sharing with us. We have two questions. The first one from Ananta. I hope pronouncing your name well. The question is, do you see building regulations code across various geographies adapting to the climate change and or disaster preparation? We have it in the chat. I don't know if Ananta would like, yeah.
Oh, that's a very good question. I don't know where Ananta is from, but certainly in North America, these things are creeping into the codes, building codes very quickly, and I think even kind of a planning consideration. I'm in Canada or in Toronto, flooding is a big concern. And actually, heat waves are kind of coming up as well. We throughout North America, actually, last year there was something like 1,000 deaths caused by heat waves. So,
Wow.
it is a subject which is not kind of limited to very hot places. In fact, the some of the heating is probably fastest in the northern climates. So absolutely, this will become part of the codes. It must become part of the codes very quickly. Obviously, depending on the location and what the priorities are. I don't know whether it's answering the question properly.
Thank you.
Yes, it does. Thanks.
Hear you. Yeah, please, Ananta, please.
I have the second question. I put it on the chat, but I'll just say that, there are a lot of mega cities being built, especially in the developing world, whether it's India, China, or Brazil. But are they designing or architecting these new smart cities or mega cities with these concepts in place, or mega cities are mostly enabling technology and connectivity?
Well, again, very good question. And I'm kind of sort of trying to find out exactly what is happening. You probably know that Indonesia is kind of changing the capital city because the Jakarta is kind of sinking. So I'm trying to find out what they're doing exactly, but I think it would be very inappropriate if they wouldn't pay attention to that. I think it's essential, really. If you have any good case studies, please let me know, because I'm actually trying to collect any kind of case studies of this happening.
Will do if I find it. I'm more interested in actually following very closely also what's happening in Jakarta to Kalimantan movement, because that is a phenomenally huge project undertaking anyway. Nobody has done that.
That's right. Yeah. No, it's unfortunately they're cutting tropical forests to do that.
Correct. So. Borneo is gone, but yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Ari. Thank you. That was a very interesting presentation.
Thank you, Ananta, and thank you very much, Jiri. Well, we have another question about the slides. Actually, the session has been recorded, and I'm going to upload the registration on the alumni platform. On the alumni platform, you can also find all the other master classes and all the other sessions that you might want to take a look in different languages. Well, not this one, but we have in different languages, in English, Spanish, and Portuguese on different subjects. So as always, I'm going to upload the registration there, and you can watch it and see the slides in the recording. Also, I would like to share with you that in the alumni platform, in the session of events, you might be updated on the next masterclasses, soft skills sessions, and presential events that we are organizing. If you want any other information, you can always write to my email, alumni@izigurat.com, that I'm gonna share here in the chat. Yes, Sonia, I see you have your hand up. You can open your micro and talk, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening, Jiri and Paula and everyone. You can hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Basically, I just want to comment only about the, before you tell that about the technology, right? It's part of the to maintain the resilience of the emergency response. And also about in Indonesia, right, regarding the shifting the capital from Jakarta to Kalimantan or to Borneo. Anyway, basically definitely they do the cut the tree and everything, right? But this the project, the name is just wait a minute. The name is the Kareng Lompoa Carbon Tree Project. This one basically is part of the carbon exchange.
Oh,
Carbon credit exchange, yes. Basically, I'm part of that project.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's why basically what they cut there in the for that city, basically we just converted to another area to they wanted to plant the tree as part of the carbon trading exchange. That's the whatever the project is talking about. So they still be hopefully we answer what how we'll cut the tree and then where is this one, right? The compensation of the tree it will be going through. Yeah, that's the project already. Is anyways now still under this one, still under what name? Under proposal review, but hopefully within another 2 or 3 months it'll be starting for this one.
oh, thank you very much for your comment. Are you actually based in Indonesia?
Yes, I'm Indonesian.
Oh,
And I'm also in class for the blockchain technology in this one, and my part of my thesis also is there.
Okay.
oh, that's it. Actually,
Yes.
funnily enough, my son just got married to an Indonesian girl, and we've been to a wedding in Bali. So,
Wow.
Yeah, nice to hear that.
if you would care to drop me an email, I would love to get in touch with you.
No,
Because
no problem. Thank you very
I'm
much.
most likely to go back. It's Bali is just fantastic. It's a great
Yes.
place.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Sonia, and thank you very much, Jiri. That was interesting, actually, and maybe we can think on a panel. Oh, okay, I'm already brainstorming, but it could be interesting, Sonia, your experience in the project, and also with Jiri experience, and see like two different faces of the same problem. But yeah, this is just an idea that came to my mind that I wanted to share. Ananta, do you wanted to share anything? I saw
Nope,
that.
I'm good. I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Because I saw that you open your micro. Okay, I don't know if anyone would like to share or ask any other question. All right. Okay. So I would like to thank, first of all, Jiri, for sharing your time and your knowledge with us. Thank you very, very much. And thank you, every one of you, for being and joining the session, and for sharing your thoughts. And well, as I told you, I'm gonna upload the recording in the alumni platform, and where you will find it in, I think in 2 weeks it might be ready. And for any question, anything you would like to ask or propose, you can contact me at alumni@easygurat.com. And thank you very much, everyone. Have a great day or evening.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Thank you.